Hello, everybody, and welcome to Two Guys and a Mic. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan.
And this is, I'm sorry.
Two Guys and a Mic. Thanks for ruining that one for me.
We have an interesting,
very hot topic.
yes,
going on today. It didn't turn out, it didn't start out as a hot topic, but it's really picking up steam. We're talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, as far as being part of that religion, or those who have left that religion. Some people call it a cult. We have a caller on the line. Her name is Julie. Hi, Julie.
Oh, it's Julie. Hi, can you hear me?
We also have someone else on the line. Who else are we talking to in Michigan?
No.
Hello?
Okay.
You called into him.
Oh, did I call? You talking to me?
Yes,
Hello?
whoever has, hello?
Yeah.
Are you from Michigan?
Yeah.
Hi.
I thought I was just listening in. I'm sorry.
We have someone else from Maryland
Okay.
calling in. Who are we talking to? We have Julie. We have, who's
From Michigan.
Your first name from Michigan?
Joyce.
Joy.
Joy. Nice
Joy.
to meet you, Joy.
And-
No.
And Maryland.
Joyce. Joy.
Oh, Joyce. Joyce.
Nice to meet you, Joyce. Maryland. Who we got?
Yeah.
Your first name only?
Sharon.
Say that again. Karen?
Sharon. Yes.
Sharon. Well, I
Sharon.
don't have the greatest of ears, so. First of all, I want to introduce Julie to you. She has a website. What's your website name, Julie?
Can you hear me? First of all, I wasn't sure if I was in here.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. Hi, Julie from Wisconsin, and it's actually Christy Darlington's website for Jehovah. If you go to forjehovah.org, and I am one of several on there, and so I think that's how we know each other. I can't remember how we know each other, but I think maybe you had sent out something to that ministry telling them about Two Guys and a Mic. It was some time ago. But yeah, so forjehovah.org, and it reaches people that are, they're dealing with a relative or a friend who's been involved with Jehovah's Witnesses, so it's help going out to them, but also ex-Jehovah's Witnesses who aren't sure how to move forward. There's a lot of information on the website, so yeah.
Very interesting. Now, Sharon from Maryland, is that correct?
Yes.
Now,
Yes,
are
it is.
you a Jehovah's Witness now, or an ex-Jehovah's Witness?
I'm a former Jehovah's Witness.
Okay, and how long were you in there?
I have been a witness for 32 years. I left in 2013.
Okay. Can I ask you why? Why did you leave?
I left because my son, who was a ministerial servant, had been studying on his own, and then he came to me and with scriptures, and he was saying things that didn't go along with the Watchtower. And so I started doing my own research, and I found out that they had been lying to us, and there was a lot of doctrine that was not correct.
Okay. I agree with you. Also, I'm an ex-Jehovah's Witness also.
Okay.
Born and raised as a Jehovah's Witness. The age of 19, I had gotten out of the religion, and then many years later went back in. And the wife who I was married to at the time she was a born-again Christian, and I started doing my own research also, and started saying, "Hey, wait a minute, this is not lining up." And
Right,
exactly. That's what I got out for. Also, we have a caller from Michigan. Can you state your first name again?
Joyce.
Joyce. Joyce, are you an ex-Jehovah's Witness also?
Yes, I was born and raised. I left 31 years ago.
Okay. And let me ask all you ladies, has your life been better ever since leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Without question.
Without question, I know exactly what you're saying. The one thing that I had the worst trouble with as a Jehovah's Witness was I was never good enough. Never.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Yep.
you felt like you're depressed if you're not going out in field service enough. If your talks weren't great, and you got judged right there on stage. It was just an incredible feeling. Well, one of the scriptures that I want to bring out. What's that?
The first time I found out that I was a child of God, I just cried. And I love Nicodemus. I hope someday I can meet him, because that conversation between him and Jesus meant
just an incredible feeling.
It is.
Before
I am a child of God. I can be part of that adoption, and that I can be born again. It's not just the 144,000.
Exactly.
It applies to me.
Now, before Dan decides to read the scripture, I want to let everybody know that I am an atheist. And, of course, Dan's a Christian, so it's kind of like 2 points of view. But I have found my life, coming from a Southern Baptist background, I found that my life has been a lot better, purer, cleaner, ever since I've gotten away from religion. And I'm sure, I'm not judging anybody, but it just seems to me like going from one, what they call a faithful and discreet slave.
Yes.
Going from that to being another slave for somebody else, it just doesn't. I just can't grasp it mentally. You know what I mean?
Well, I understand that. I understand that, and that's why when I left, I swore I would never belong to another religion, and I don't. I don't belong to a religion. And when the church said, they talked about membership, and I stood up and I said, if you have membership in this church, I'm leaving, because I will not belong to a church that has their own rules and stuff. I want to live by the Bible, and that's it.
Right. One of the things that you were all taught, including myself, as a Jehovah's Witness, is there's a scripture in Matthew chapter 7, verse 15. I want to read real quick. It says, "Beware of false prophets who come to you in sheep's clothing, but inwardly they are ravenous wolves." Remember, we were taught as a Jehovah's Witness that any other religion but the Jehovah's Witness was the ravenous wolf. After leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses and doing my own research, and I had been member of a couple of churches, evangelical, I came to the realization that false prophet was the Jehovah's Witnesses themselves.
Enlightening, isn't it?
And very enlightening. Now, Julie.
First of all, Julie, what are you a non-denominational Christian or Lutheran or what?
No, just born again Christian. I've never joined a church. I like to attend several different fellowships actually. So I believe in fellowship, but I will never join a church. I don't see it as biblical, to tell you the truth. Fine if somebody else feels the need. I just feel the need for Christian fellowship, definitely, and I think it takes place in a lot of different ways. It does take place in a Sunday morning building, but it also takes place on the internet, by phone, just getting together with other friends, because just like anything else, you want to be around some people that get you, that understand what's important to you, what your values are. Not that, and what's different with that, when you're a Jehovah's Witness, you can only have Jehovah's Witness friends. Well,
Exactly.
when you're a Christian, of course you have friends that may differ in their values and what their, faith or non-faith is. But all I see is, the church, we just simply become the church when we become believers. And, of course, we're going to crave fellowship with other Christians.
Would you fellowship? Would you fellowship with non-believers?
Absolutely,
Absolutely.
My husband's an
That's
atheist.
awesome.
Yeah.
Oh, really? Joyce,
Yes.
are you what kind of what denomination would you be?
Well, let's see. I joined the Lutheran church for a little while and was nothing for the longest time. And
Good for you.
then my son started going to Catholic schools, and we got a discount for becoming members at the school. So my husband and I and my son became Catholic, but I'm happy to say that, how can I put it? When you're a Jehovah's Witness, you've always got to be the best. There's
Correct.
no
You're still
room
never
for-
good enough.
Right.
Yep.
And what I love the idea of is being a mediocre Catholic. I don't know. Does that make
Mediocre
any sense?
Catholic.
A mediocre Catholic.
Yeah. You know what? As far as what I've been hearing from all the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses is you still, most of them still believe in God, but they don't believe in organized religion. And I agree with that. I find out the more research I do into the Bible that being a good person, helping others in their time of need, and just living a moral life.
Well,
You don't have to go to church to do that.
You could do that as an atheist.
You don't even have to, exactly. So I personally
Atheists
don't like
are moral.
that
Atheists have good values.
Yes.
So
And so do Muslims.
you don't need to follow the Bible to be moral and have values.
But that's where I feel it came from, is from God's word,
Well, that's okay.
Julie, now you help a lot of ex-Jehovah's Witnesses realize that, hey, there's a good life in store for you. And, because a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses, when they actually leave the religion and they realize that they've been duped so many years, I mean, they get into a depressive state of mind, Can you tell us, Julie, some of the things that you might come across when you're helping ex-Jehovah's Witnesses realize they still have a good life?
Well, definitely. I mean, starting from my own story, just that depression, and when you've locked into the idea that God is the religion and religion is God, you leave the religion and you feel like, well, maybe I really did leave God, or that's what they're telling you, And so I think with a lot of us, what we deal with is that, we're out of the organization, but we can't go forward in a relationship with God, even though we may want one, because we think it's tied to a religion. So for me, the freedom came in understanding that God and religion are two separate things. And it may be hard for Jason to understand. You're the atheist, right?
Correct.
Am I right? Okay. That I actually, what I delight in most is using the Bible, studying the Bible with people so that it can free them from religion. And that may be hard for atheists to understand, but that's what I love about the Bible, is because I do not see Jesus setting up a religion. We call it Christianity, but what I see him doing is just bringing us back to that one-on-one relationship that some of us do crave. I want to just know that God is out there, God loves me, God's hearing my prayers, all of that, that I don't have to go to any in-between, And so for the person who is seeking that, I really believe that the Bible actually helps untangle any religious lies they've gotten. And so, you know, that's my focus. I just think that a lot of us are harmed by religion, not necessarily just Jehovah's Witnesses, but, you know, just that whole I can't do enough thing, you know, the whole works mentality. I have to go to this meeting or I have to perform this type of service. Yeah. Yeah, the whole I have to be perfect, otherwise God's not going to want me. It's just the whole message of Christ is he did it for us. You know, it's like, okay, I couldn't help but feel that I am imperfect. I do sin. And, you know, I believe in this holy God. You feel that separation then. And it's like to know that he took care of it. We're not the ones that work toward him. He's the one that works towards us, you know. So that really freed me. That freed my mind and just, yeah, I just experienced that freedom. And so I do give the
I keep hearing, especially from apologists like William Lane Craig and Cy Ten Brudenkate, you try to get them to offer evidence that there is a God. And they always come up with the same old stale arguments that have been debunked years ago. No one can really say, I mean, can you honestly say that God is real? You've never met him. I'm sure people say they've talked to him, but I don't know.
I think you're
kind
right.
of skeptical.
Everything comes down to faith. Everything, because they're not, I mean, you can argue a lot of different points, but eventually you're just going to come down to that base thing like, I don't know, I have faith and I can't completely explain why I want to, you know, why I want to fortify it and validate, you know, validate it and all that. It's just there. And I don't know, I kind of take it like, okay, I have to accept that there are some people that they honestly aren't seeking. They're not seeking. So it's like, okay, that's fine. But I know for me, I had to admit, I'm seeking. I want God in my life. So guess what? I am going to stack up the evidence that says, well, see, there it is. See, that's God. You know?
Yeah,
well, let me ask all three. Okay, go ahead.
There's certain things that have happened in my life since I left that can only be explained through a supernatural force. And
exactly.
And
I was just going to ask
and like
that.
Julie says, you can't explain it, but it happened, and it's real. Like, how could this possibly happen? I need an answer. I can't humanly figure out an answer. I feel like I want to die. I can't take it anymore. And then out of nowhere is the answer. And something has been provided for me by people I don't know. Really?
Right.
Tell me that's not God.
Exactly. I was going to ask all three of you this question. Ever since leaving the Jehovah's Witness organization and doing my own research on God and the Bible, I know that I personally have a closer relationship with God, but I've also known and I've also seen him work in my life tremendously more now than when I was a Jehovah's Witness. Have all three of you seen that in your life?
Oh, my word. When I left my family, I left my friends, and I was a really good Jehovah's Witness. I followed all the rules. Okay, I was the poster girl for Jehovah's Witness. And so when I left, I had absolutely no friends. I did not know how to react in society. I did not know how to make friends. And I was devastated. And bam, the first person I become friends with is Jude.
Hi, Sharon.
Huh? Yeah.
Do you think?
I don't know if that was persecution or no.
But don't you think that as you were saying, you were devastated, and I'm sure the Jehovah's Witnesses was basically torture to the mind.
Oh, definitely.
Wouldn't that have turned you away and saying, you know what, this religion garbage is just garbage?
It's not for you.
It does
it's not for you.
Well, I didn't, because I never blamed God. I blamed people. I blamed the organization. They lied to me. God never lied to me. I just didn't know what the truth about God, because I was isolated from it. And it's kind of like the Truman story. He gets up and he does his everyday thing. His whole life is fake. He didn't know that there's another world out there.
Right.
And then he finds out, and that's how, as Jehovah's Witnesses, we're in this bubble. And so when I find out the truth, it's like, wow, God is not a punishable God. God is he's a man of grace and mercy, and he loves me. And I just wanted more of that, and I wanted more and more.
Actually, those who are looking to join religion because they're seeking something, and just because you realize that Jehovah's Witnesses has the false doctrines, doesn't mean that you're still not seeking God.
Right.
Well, the reason why I asked that question is because it seems like the people that are representing God, as far as pastors, priests, whatever, they're always the frauds and the nutcases and the ones that find Jesus on grilled cheese sandwiches. They kind of make religion just a bunch of crackpots. You know what I mean?
Right.
Those are the only ones that are on
bad
TV
name.
representing. Yes.
Well,
yes.
they're the ones that make the news. So you're always aware of the Jim Bakkers and the Jimmy Swaggart and stuff, because it's sensational. But you don't know just your neighbor next door was just like Joyce said, you used the term something like a nothing Christian or something. I forget what you
mediocre.
said. Mediocre. The mediocre people don't make the news. So there are plenty of those who are in leadership positions, pastors and that just they don't make the news until they do something really, really bad. So when you say, well, they're all bad, it's just because they're all in the news.
Right. Now, Julie, I watched a video of yours on YouTube. You were giving your testimony, and I found it very compelling. But one question I wanted to ask was, you said, and I may have gotten the number wrong, but you said that you joined the Jehovah's Witnesses at 31, was it 31?
32. Yeah, so I was
32.
an adult, yeah.
Right. I'm just wanting to know just to listen to what the Jehovah's Witnesses, as far as how they perceive religion, how you could have thought, being that you're in an adult mind. I mean, it's not like kids where you can tell a kid that Santa's real and they'll believe it. When you're an adult, you tend to...
question to ask, yeah.
Right.
Because even though there I was, 32 years of life and life experiences and looking around and all that stuff, I did not have a very big church background, a background with the Bible, but I had... what I think happens to a lot of us once we get out of those teens and early 20s, we start asking the bigger questions. What's the meaning of life? What happens when I die? And my question was, at the age of 32, I'm responsible for these children that have come from me. I had 2 little kids, and I felt an enormous responsibility with that. Like my own self-compass, of my own moral compass somehow wasn't enough. Like, well, I know what's right and wrong for me, but I started to wonder about is there really a basis of right and wrong? And the way I look at that, why Jehovah's Witnesses appealed to me was because kind of like I just wanted the black and white list. Tell me what's wrong and I'll avoid it. Tell me what's right and I'll do it. So that is not Christianity. I was primed for law, and that's what the history of Israel to me represents. So I was very immature. I didn't know the Word of God. I wanted to learn it. And when I looked around my area, because I had visited churches, I just had a curiosity. Jehovah's Witnesses stood out by far, they actually use the Bible, and they seem to really wow, they want to practice what they preach in there, So it was very appealing to me. It's not appealing now. because now I realize the stronger thing is faith, not law.
But it seems like a slavish mentality. Like you were looking for somebody to follow. I don't understand why you couldn't have just said, "Hey, you know what? I'm gonna."
Slave. Yeah, you're right. I wanted an authority figure because that's that black and white list. I felt that insecurity of I want someone to tell me what to do. But I've matured through that. I don't want that now.
Well, that's.
Well, like a necessary thing I had to go through. It was my kindergarten.
Well, once you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses and you start looking into your Bible and researching, and you find out the true way of worshiping God and how important Jesus is to our life. I know a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses do that. I kind of went a different route, and I want to tell you ladies about this. And if you've heard about this, I want to know about this. One of the things I did in research is Jehovah's Witnesses Exposed by David J. Stewart. Have any of you heard of him?
No.
Nope. Sorry. My husband's Sharon, say hi to Ed.
Hi, Ed.
Hi,
I
Ed.
love you.
Sharon says hi. Okay, I'm on a conference thing. Okay, bye. Sorry, completely missed your question.
Well, anyways, I'm going to tell you some interesting facts that maybe you ladies don't know about, and I like I say, I did this research. I want you also to research this if this sounds far-fetched to you. Did you know that Charles Taze Russell was a 13th generation Illuminati?
I've heard of that.
Illuminati?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He was also...
Pyramidology.
Yes, it is. It's satanic worship.
He's also related to the Rothschilds.
He's what?
And
Related somehow to the Rothschilds.
Who were in
I will give you that information too. He was considered a 33rd degree Freemason.
Yeah, I know that one.
That's where he originated from. Now, you know, by your Bible teaching, even on your own, that God is a God of numbers. Now, let's look at those two numbers alone. Well, number 13, well, we all know that has to do with, it's a bad number, okay? But a 33rd degree Freemason, and how old was Jesus when he died?
33.
He was 33, so you can see how Satan really works on that. Have any of you ever looked up online Charles Taze Russell's grave?
Yeah.
Oh,
his headstone being it's actually an Illuminati pyramid, and it has the Freemason cross on it. I'm telling you this as I'm going on.
So what it tells
also,
us is really the foundation of the watch is of a human source, earthly source, whatever you want to say. It's not like the kingdom of God, which its source is spirit, it's heaven. It doesn't come up from the earth; it comes down from heaven. That's a big difference. The kingdom of man and the kingdom of God are two very different things. And what you're bringing out about Charles Taze Russell just shows the foundation is, on the kingdom of man there.
Right. And also,
pyramid going up.
Judge Rutherford was also a Freemason. In fact, Charles Taze was a Knights Templar. There's a book called, you can get this online, it's free, it's a PDF book. It's called Be Wise as Serpents. It's by a Christian prisoner called Fritz Springmeier. And it has the three-sided triangle, and it's the Masonic Tower of Babel, the magical watchtowers, and the other line is the Christianity's Systematic Destruction. Another book that, what's the name?
Fritz.
What's that?
What's his last name? Fritz what?
Springmeyer.
Springmeyer. Okay, thank you.
And also, I want you to look up the book Occult Theocracy, because it in that book, this book was written by Edith Starr Miller. On page 737, it lists Charles Taze Russell as a cult leader.
Actually says that.
Yes, it does. And do you know? Have you ever done research on the New World Translation?
Yes. There's
there's a lot of bad things going on with the New World Translation. It was actually
it was taken from a spiritualist.
Yep.
Yeah, what's the name of that book? I'm trying to remember the name of the book. Do you know?
Something about angels in it, isn't it? I can't think of it. But yeah, receiving like the interpretation from angels.
Well, anyways, the two men who were Satanists.
I know why you're laughing, because you're thinking like, well, isn't that what you're going to say about the Bible?
It kind of seems like people are watching too many movies.
They were priests in Satanism. It was Westcott and Hort who are the ones who actually the New World Translation was derived from. They were founders of the Hermes Club and members of Russian witch Madame Blavatsky's Theosophy cult.
Blavatsky, I've heard of her.
Yeah. Another thing I want you ladies to realize, and like I said, look this up on your own if you don't believe me, but through my research, what is Satan's organization on earth according to the Jehovah's Witnesses? What is the big one? United Nations. Did you know that in 1991, the Jehovah's Witnesses organization applied for information sharing with the United Nations? And when Jehovah's Witnesses started learning about it in 2000, they took back their application.
The interesting part about that is that before they joined, they called the United Nations the wild beast, and downed it. But once they became a member, they had to sign an agreement saying that they would not say anything negative about them. So if you look at the publications, then they are not saying anything negative. They're saying some positive things. After they stopped, then they went back to calling them the wild beast again.
Right. If you look it up online, you can. There's a lot of people who have researched this. They'll go into the Watchtower and Awake magazines, and they will show you where there is satanic symbols in the Watchtower and Awake.
Yeah, the goat's face and all that stuff.
I think.
Doesn't that just give you the chills?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think just thinking back on the memorial, that's why I go on. It's like, wow, for the years I was in the Watchtower, I was actually participating in a satanic ritual. But it was Satan is an angel of light. It had all that Christianese around it. People dress nice and you sing some hymns and you feel it's got this churchy atmosphere that you're doing it in. You don't think in terms of, let's worship Satan, that type of thing. But it is you are mocking the sacrifice made by Jesus Christ. You are mocking the blood and the body by passing those emblems and not partaking. And I never, you talk to some ex-witnesses and they tell you they never felt comfortable with it. Their consciences were stricken, but they followed suit. Now, my conscience was never pricked. I was doing it, and I just felt like, this is what Jehovah wants. But afterwards, when I started to realize what the blood and body of Christ was really about and that it was for me, I understood immediately, like, oh my gosh, I had been rejecting him and mocking him. That's a satanic ritual.
it's an Illuminati ritual. In fact, one of the things that we were talking about before with Westcott and Horde, as far as changing the Bible, I got some quick scripture I want to read to you.
Okay, before you do that, it just seems like nobody was questioning their authorities. If anybody said something, they said, "Well, wait a minute. Why don't we just think this? Or is this how we?" Nobody's questioning anything.
That's
It was
why
just
You can't.
follow.
Yeah.
you can't walk in. Yeah, that's right. And that's why I was kicked out, though, is because when you do start to question it, that's when you're suspect, and So I can definitely say that's why I got kicked out, because I began to
Punishment.
Began to question.
Punishment's too high.
I see. Okay.
Well, Revelations chapter 22, verse 18 and 19. For I testify to everyone who hears the words of the prophecy of this book, if anyone adds to these things, God will add to him the plagues that are written in this book. And if anyone takes away from the words of the book of this prophecy, God shall take away his part from the book of life, from the holy city, and from the things which are written in this book. Now, why would you want to mess with that?
Because
It's the King James Version, too.
Because as a witness, they are having you apply that to the world. When we went to door, and someone will pull out their NIV, oh, well, your Bible's different than ours. They have the wrong Bible. We have the right Bible.
Right, because
and it was just the opposite.
They are the truth,
Right.
But
so that's that mind control element of it that you just start to lock in after a while. That we have the truth. So that becomes your measuring rod, that anything that doesn't match up to what you've already agreed to be the truth, you're going to have to reject it right away, So
exactly.
That's
now, I was waiting for someone to say that. Mind control. That's you're brainwashed. I mean, we were all, that was.
I could have told you that.
Yeah.
Right. Well,
Thank you, atheist.
Your wall was already up, but I can't speak for everybody, but the person who's an adult convert, again, they're in a vulnerable spot because they're already seeking. It's just like the person who willingly raises their hand to be hypnotized, which I've done.
Right.
You're at a festival and there's a hypnotist, and you're thinking, gee, I want to try it. It's very much like that. I compare that indoctrination to just like being hypnotized, because what you're given is this overwhelming sense that you don't want to embarrass the hypnotist. You're just going to follow along.
Right.
And and so just by volunteering, you're already in a vulnerable spot. You're like, absolutely. I want it to happen to me.
I think most of these men should have been used car salesmen. They sure
sold their goods very well.
Bill of goods, all right.
And as far as the faith,
trained to sell.
yeah. Well, the faithful and discreet slave. Yes, go ahead.
I want to say, you had asked Julie about her being an adult convert, and her story is a little different than mine. Because I came as an adult convert too, but I was 19 and I had left home because of abuse that was going on, and so when I was told about the paradise and all that, it sounded really good. Well, I ended up having an arranged marriage. And so
really,
my choice was I could either marry him or go home. And I knew I couldn't go home. And they knew I couldn't go home. And so in order to marry him, I had to get baptized. So I had no idea who I was marrying, nor did I know about this religion I had just gave my life over to. And then
so who was baptized? Out of Sharon, Joyce, and Julie, when you were a Jehovah's Witness, which were all three of you baptized?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You were as Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah.
No, before we go, we have another caller from New Jersey.
Hi.
Hello.
This is cool.
Hi.
Hey.
Who are we speaking?
Hey.
Who are we speaking to? First name only, please.
I'll call April. April. Very nice to meet you
April.
guys.
Okay.
Hi. Yes.
Well, so far we got on the line April, May, June, and no, I'm just kidding.
And we might want to mention There might be people listening in who want to call in but don't know how to unmute themselves. You want to mention that?
No, it's not muted. All you do is call the number, put the pin in, and you're automatically connected.
Yeah, I wasn't sure how it
because
worked.
I did the press star twice thing. It said to do that.
Well, Julie told us to do that. No, just kidding.
No, just call the number. It'll tell you to give the pin. You put the pin in, and it will connect you automatically.
So, April, are you an ex-Jehovah's Witness?
I surely am. Fortunately, though, I escaped baptism, although I was raised from, infancy, very heavily indoctrinated, very zealous father anyway. Mother was kind of, had her own mental illness problems. She was adopted and abused as well. But I escaped, fortunately, baptism. So I'm just awoken in this past, 8 months or so. So the shunning, though, is fresh.
Yeah,
They're taking that new, instruction to shun inactive ones or, ones that should know better, as, they figure. So.
Now, April, do you know Julie? You do.
Do I do what?
Do you know Julie?
No, I don't know any. I don't know any.
Okay.
Actually, my phone number is from New Jersey, but I actually just moved to PA because I just wanted to move away from that area.
Hey!
You know what I mean? I'm starting over here in PA.
Hey, where in PA are you?
About, I guess,
We
it's
don't want
from
cities.
Pittsburgh, oh, I'm sorry. Well, I would say the closest big city would be Pittsburgh, if
If you're
I'm
comfortable
from
doing it, I mean, that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm from Maryland.
We're talking.
Okay.
Hey.
Now, as far as ladies,
completely, yeah. I'm just so
as
thrilled
far
to
as
actually speak with somebody with an ex-JW because I'm just so newly awakened and so kind of lonely and.
well, actually, April, you're speaking with 5 ex-Jehovah's Witnesses and 1 atheist.
Yeah.
Okay.
And can you?
Okay.
And you know who's
Well,
the ugliest of us all? It's that atheist. No.
Aw, he's probably handsome.
Well, I'm kind of on
That's
the
okay.
fence
I can
with
tell.
that, with it
extremely
being so
handsome,
new.
actually.
Okay.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. There's a lot of hope for you, April. We've, like I said, we've all, most of us. Can I have that list
What are
again?
your names?
I'm Dan.
And I'm Jason.
I'm Joyce.
I'm
What is
Julie.
it, Dan and Julie?
Yep.
Sharon.
I personally am an ex-Jehovah's Witness. Sharon, Joyce, and Julie are also ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. And the one thing that I know that you said that's really going to improve your life is you had an eye-opener, an eye-opening moment. And that's what we're talking about is right now is all the eye-opening moments that we've all experienced. I had asked who's all been baptized in Jehovah's Witness. Yeah, isn't that incredible? But how many of you have been baptized after? Has anybody been baptized after?
Oh, after being a Jehovah's Witness?
Yes, after you left the Jehovah's Witness, has anybody been baptized? I have.
In a different religion, you mean? In a
Yes,
different religion,
yes.
you're saying?
Well,
no,
but it doesn't have to be an organized religion. Have you been baptized in the Holy Spirit?
Yes.
I have.
I have too.
Yes.
Now, April, what is your story? Why did you leave the Jehovah's Witnesses?
Well, I was a very sensitive kid. I trusted my father. My mother was very abusive, so I trusted my father, who was very mild-mannered and kind and patient. Although he was away from home a lot of time working, he did not really know what was going on at home. But I really admired his kindness and his patience with my mother. And I always wanted to have the faith that he had. I always wanted to be like him that way. So that really kept me in, my dad, his example and all. But I was molested inside the organization when I was 12. And I finally got the nerve to come out about it when I was 15. And my dad did nothing. He said,
exactly. We hear that.
Leave it in Jehovah's hands, kind of thing. Don't want to drag Jehovah's name through the mud, blah, blah, blah. So.
Now, was your father an elder or a ministerial servant?
He's a ministerial servant now. He was not at the time. And he's serving with my mother right now where the gullible is greater in Ecuador.
The gullible is greater. I like that.
Are you, April, are you able to have contact with your folks? Do you talk?
Do I have contact with my family?
Yeah. Are you able to talk with them, or do they shun you completely?
No, yeah, they shun me now. Now that I got out of the area, I was waiting to get out of the area and the situation I was in. I was just able to move just very, very recently. And, of course, I was busting at the seams for, over the past 6 months or whatever,
Right.
Trying to keep the peace where I was and all. And finally, I'm out of there, and so I can yell it from the rooftops.
Before you leave here, April, what I want you to do is I want you to, Julie, why don't you tell her your website?
You probably learned, April, about this show by my posting it on Facebook. I'm thinking you must have been in one of the groups.
No, that's the thing. That's another reason why I'm so, I'm not really big on social media. I don't even have a Facebook account.
How did you
have
find
some.
out about this then?
I guess a lot of those that are, newly awakened, they just binge watch Ex-Jehovah YouTube videos. So that's all I've been doing. So that's how I came across you. I listened to Guys in a Mic, yeah, and some, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, and he was just saying the website I'm associated with is the number 4jehovah.org, or if you're on Facebook, I don't mind my real name being out there, Julie McAllen. If you want to friend me and we can chat, whatever.
Awesome.
But those are
it also has YouTube videos too. You watch.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I have heard of you. I have heard of For Jehovah. Okay. I have heard of that being plugged in different videos and things. Yeah.
Yeah. So
good
to meet you.
Like I said, I did watch.
Thank you. That's cool.
I did watch her video, Julie's video on. I guess it was her testimony, I believe. I found it very compelling, but still, it didn't convince me. I'm sorry, but that's okay. I found it very entertaining. It was great. It was good. I mean, for anybody who's
it didn't convince you of what? What?
I mean,
I'm trying to figure this out too.
It didn't convince me that God was real. I'm the atheist.
Yeah. I actually very strongly sway in that direction. I refuse. I can't say no. There's definitely no God. I mean, I don't think anyone can say for sure of anything. So for me, at this point, I know it's still kind of fresh, but from what I've been thinking and going through my head, I don't know. I doubt that for me, that there is some power out there who oversees what we do from day to day and judges each thing we do and our thoughts and our things like that. If there is such a personality out there, he's got to be pretty cool. Maybe there's some kind of extraordinary power or something, like some force that caused different things to, because evolution is obviously fact. So, I really don't know.
Yes. I mean, being an atheist just pretty much means there's no compelling evidence that a God exists. That's all. It's not that we don't hate God because we don't believe in him. I mean, people say, well, you're angry at God. Well, how can I be angry at something that I don't believe exists?
You don't believe
what do you do?
Something, yeah.
Right.
So when you're in an atheist church,
I think it comes down to accepting who you are. And I am a believer. I'm a believer in God, and I'm a Christian. But I get it. I mean, my husband, we love each other very much, and he's an atheist, and I don't think he's angry at God. I don't think he's hiding something. He sincerely doesn't seem to have the same hunger that I always had. And so what it comes down to for me when we get into those discussions of atheists and, just a deist, not any particular religion, but just someone who believes in a God out there, there's just some kind of, some people have referred to it as the God gene. And I had to just admit, well, I guess I'm one of those people. I've always wanted to believe that, somebody created the things I see.
In your heart or something.
And so I had to meet that need. Yeah. And if a person is walking around and they don't have that need, they're not going to seek something to meet the need because the need's not there. And so I get it. With my husband, he really doesn't have the hunger. So I'm like,
okay. Is he very scientific? Is he very scientific? Because for me, I turned as soon as I allowed myself to do research. Is he really? Yeah, I think a lot of atheists are that way because.
April, have you heard of? April, have you heard of Christopher Hitchens?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Christopher Hitchens.
I'm getting through them. I'm finding them all.
Right.
I'm getting through them.
He's one of my favorites. I know he's dead now, but he's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I
plan on reading his.
What's going to resurrect him? A tree?
One of his books.
They did find his face in the
Where did he go?
He died.
And so where is he?
Who knows? Dead.
He's in the ground rotting, eaten by worms, I guess. Nobody really knows what people can say. Well, you go to heaven when you die. How do you know you've never died?
Right.
Of course. So somebody asked me. They said, "Do you remember what happened before you were born?"
Right. Exactly.
No.
Yeah.
Well, then how do you know what happens after you die? I mean, it's the same thing.
Right. Well, I want to.
It's just speculation. People are speculating. Of course, the priests and the pastors and everybody else is saying, yes, there is a heaven, when they really don't know. They know just about as much as we do.
Right.
Anyways, I want to change the subject a little bit.
I listen to videos of different Christians of different denominations arguing back and forth. Oh, the Godhead and well, I don't mean to offend anybody or anything like. I mean, I'm just saying, like there's so much conviction in what they're saying, but they just you can't know for sure, But they get all so worked up like all the time. Sometimes, these people they just have to, they feel that they have the truth and that they're right, and they want to help people. It's a good intention, but it's just really, can you really know? Can anyone really know?
Right.
Because it all comes.
Well, let me ask you, ladies, this.
Up evidences on either
right.
side. Your faith is that I have faith that there, that's one way to word it. I have faith that there is no God. You will find the evidence to prove it. And also for the person who I have faith that there is a God, you will find the evidence. That's all either side is. You just stack up the evidence to prove the point that you're already starting at. And I have to admit, on either side, it always comes down to that faith. There's that little tiny element that's what I can't prove it. It's just there.
I was there, April, too. Where you're at, but now as time went on,
process for sure.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, because when I first realized that my whole reality was a lie, for 34 and a half years, a false reality, it was very, very
depressing.
It was depressing. I was terrified. This has to be true. I went to my family and I asked them. I went to the lady I studied with. I went to the elders several times, asking them questions like earnestly and honestly, please show me that this is the truth because it has to be. And when they couldn't do it, I really fell apart thank goodness I didn't need hospitalization. There's a lot of, it really messes you up. But I was very lost for a while. I was depressed. I was like, how can there not, like you said, you had that urge to know. You're so used to knowing that this is the truth, and then suddenly you don't, and it's like you're flailing around in water, like there's no ground under you or something like that,
What about the anger? Let me ask you this.
That's something we worked on that for a long time.
What about the anger when you realized, oh man, I just wasted this many years?
I try to think of it.
What I was told was the truth is a lie.
I don't know who else is trying to speak, but I don't want to talk over somebody. I hear your voice, Dan, so much louder than any of the other ladies. So I apologize if I talk over somebody. I don't mean to.
Oh, that's fine.
That's okay.
Okay, Sharon, Joyce, Julie, and April. I want to ask all four of you.
Hello, Joyce. I haven't heard from Joyce.
Are you here?
Still on?
I'm here.
Okay.
Hi. Out of you four ladies, who was all disfellowshipped?
I was
never baptized. So.
Oh, April, you were never baptized?
Associated.
You were disassociated?
Yep, and what I did before I got disassociated, because I went and I sat down and I wrote my 5 closest friends a letter. And in each letter, I wrote a different reason why I was leaving. Because the one good thing that you can count on for witnesses to do is gossip.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So they got all of them, got all 5 of them.
Yeah, but doesn't it say it in the Bible you're supposed to gossip?
Even though it's something different, I mean, you gave them a lot to talk about.
That's strong. Yeah.
Then I
That's
wrote.
good. That's good that they kind of like had to compare notes. You know, they had to discuss it. They didn't all know all the information. That's a good thing. Yeah. You like forced conversation about it. Excellent.
Mm-hmm. And
no, when you.
So then I wrote a 9-page, like kind of like a sermon or whatever talk, about the scripture where Jesus said, "I am the truth, the life, and the way." And I broke each one down, and I put that in my letter that I gave to the elders. And you know, my son ran into them about 6 months later, and he asked him. He says, "Hey, did you ever read that my mom's letter that the report that she put in there?" He says, "No, I started to." And I'm like, "That's wonderful. You're disfellowshipping me, and you don't even know why."
So heartless and cold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you ladies this real quick. Now, being an ex-Jehovah's Witness and, following their teachings, as they shun each one who gets disfellowshipped or disassociated or who just leaves the religion, if anybody is going to try and get you back, who would you want it to be?
Nobody.
A family member, right?
I wouldn't want any of them try to get me back, because all they would face would be disappointment.
Not now. Well, what I'm saying is they're making family members shun, you for being disfellowshipped or disassociating yourself.
Right.
Is that what Jesus would do, or would he go and try and get you back into the fold? It's just it's so backwards.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and
they do try, but once they sense you're at a point where they know you're too far gone, you know too much, then they give up, and they start bad mouthing you. So they do try for a little bit.
I think it's hilarious how quick they are to ask that one important question. Do you believe the governing body is, directed by God's Holy Spirit?
Yes.
And they are. Yes, and you can come to them for anything, and they want to know that question first. I mean,
you are absolutely right.
Question.
And what a great way of trolling you.
You can stand up and say, "I love Jehovah. I love Jesus. I want to serve them for all my life. I want to follow the Bible. I want to love my neighbor. I want to preach. But I don't believe in the faithful and discreet slave being God's only channel for humans on earth."
Mm-hmm.
That's
Out
it.
to go.
That's the linchpin right there. You have to obey their authority, because they really do believe they're God. That they are Jehovah.
Yep.
So if you lose faith in the organization, then it's just you're out, and it doesn't matter. All those other things you mentioned do not matter to them. They just want you to have faith in them.
Mm-hmm.
Yep, they got the red hotline on their desk, right to God,
It was the same thing in Jesus' day, though. It's a repeat, because that's what the religious authorities, the leaders in Jesus' day, I think it's in John chapter 11, they had actually said, oh no, everybody's following him, meaning Jesus, as he was going around just, humble means just preaching and healing and feeding and all that stuff. But the religious leaders became so concerned, and they said, if they keep following him, we will lose our place and our nation. They were concerned about their jobs, their positions,
their power.
It's a business. It's a business.
Right, and that's that construct why, like for me, my maturing, I didn't understand that when I entered the Watchtower. I sure understand it now. It's not just about the Watchtower. It's about religion itself. You have to come to that point to realize God and religion are two separate things. And when a religion sets itself up as a business, even when someone, takes the lead and starts out sincere, well, once they're making money at it and they're getting certain kudos from it, and, they're going to want to protect it. But the reality is you followed Jesus on your own, and the religious leaders of his day saw that too. Oh my gosh, if they keep following him, they're going to realize they have no need of religion. That's a scary thing to them.
I wonder, I don't know what I believe. It's all brand new. It's, that's all I kind of, a billion thoughts swirl through my head. But I'm just, I wonder if that happens, or I don't know. I don't know what I believe. I do have to take the Bible. My next thing to do is to take the Bible, a good version, not a Jehovah's Witness version, because I had no clue how much they played with that verse. I had no idea how much they changed things. But I want to get a good, King James version and read it, through fresh eyes and see, how I feel and think and things, I've got to do that.
Is this April?
But yes. But
yeah,
I wonder,
April.
In heaven, sorry. Yes?
You just brought up a good point. That, I don't know if you were online yet or in the show yet when I had brought up about the New World Translation.
Oh, no. I remember.
Okay. These other ladies know. Sharon, thanks for coming back. Westcott and Hort were two Satanists who actually are the ones who the New Testament of the New World Translation is a Westcott and Hort edition. And they were actually Satanists.
I did. Yeah.
So that's.
I was watching it's his channel is Ex-Jehovah. He's rather new. His name's Stewart. I was watching one of his cart crashes, and
David Stewart.
The witness,
David Stewart.
No. Oh, I don't know. His first name is Stewart, but he does cart crashes. He just started doing videos maybe in the past couple months or so. But I love his style. He was asking them about their translation, and he asked, well, what kind of historians or what Greek scholars do you have that are blah 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 translating this stuff? And she's like, oh, I don't know, I can't remember. And then he said some name, and she's like, and then he said Westcott and Hort, and she's like, that's who they are. So she recognized, the witness recognized that name as being associated with their translation, but yet I'm sure she didn't know they were Satanists.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more question, all four of you ladies. We're going to start with Sharon. I want your answer on this. How do you feel now when the Jehovah's Witnesses knock on your door?
My heart breaks for them. I want to help them get out. I will not preach at them. I will ask them questions and make them have to prove what it is that they're saying. Because if you start arguing with them, I know they're going to turn around and walk away, and I don't want them to do that. So you just giving them things that they can think about, like, yeah, maybe that did make sense.
Right. How about you, Joyce? Joyce, what is your reaction now?
I like to troll them. I like to troll them.
You said what? She likes to what?
She likes to throw potatoes at them.
She likes to troll them.
I have fun. It's, they come to my door or something like that, and I will, invariably get, because I know inside information, invariably get them caught into a lie. And especially when it comes about education, that type of thing, I will really make them think when it comes to education.
Julie, what's your answer?
Well, I would love for them to knock on my door, but they won't.
Word, yeah, me too.
I live in a small community. I'm very recognizable. I live the closest to the Kingdom Hall out of all the people that were there. So I would love
You mean
to
you
be
were walking distance and you're giving that up?
Yeah, bike riding distance, I'd say. Less than 3 miles, I think. It's just basically there's a hill between, if I could climb over the hill, there's a hill between me and the Kingdom Hall. I go to the Kingdom Hall.
I thought you were talking about your age.
Yeah, I'm over the hill. I go to the Kingdom Hall occasionally to pray over it. I have circled around the building. I'm kind of a crazy prayer warrior. I just lay hands on the door, pray over it. I've gone into the parking lot on Memorial Night trying to talk to people, but they run away in fear of me. I was at the grocery store, and you know how you look for the shortest line, and I only had like 6 or 7 items, and a cart, pulled in behind me, like she knows I'm going to be done quick. And then the aisle next to me, the person had a lot of items. When she realized who I was, she got into the other line and stood behind the woman with the large cart. That's how bad it is. So they avoid me.
Well, how many times did Satan run away from Jesus? Right?
Well, yeah.
That's the way I put it.
Yeah. Because scares anyone who is operating under a lie. And the Watchtower is full of lies. And whether, I'm saying this for Jason's benefit, like you're going, well, how can you say you have truth? Well, if you just center it on both Jehovah's Witnesses and Christians proclaim to have the truth. So if you're just dealing with that small area, not the rest of the world, it's very provable to Jehovah's Witnesses where their lies come from. When you start to ask them, well, can you prove that to me from the Bible? Can you prove that? You can see the distortions they've taken with the Bible. So from that level of truth, my husband, the atheist, also pointed out, because when I was being disfellowshipped, when I was, asked to come to these hearings and stuff, I said, I don't understand, because I was, like Sharon, a really good poster child witness, and I knew there was, these witnesses in my hall that moaned and groaned a lot about stuff like, well, I don't think we should do this, and they were, not regular in their meetings. I thought, why are they picking on me? Like, you'd think that they would haul someone like that in. And he said, Julie, you're articulate and you know how to use that Bible. They're afraid of you. Right. And I'm like, yeah, I guess you're right. Because as long as you've kept someone in a weak position, even if they're complaining, when they're cowering under the elders and they don't know how to defend themselves, witnesses will hang on to them. They don't have a need to disfellowship anyone like that. They can still control them. But when someone starts to be empowered and they can defend their own beliefs.
That one. Oh, they don't know what to do.
Yeah, that scares them. And they run away and they, So I've been told by an in-and-out witness, she said, oh, you're public enemy number 1 to them. We were all called into the basement and talked to individually if we have had any dealings with you. I'm like, oh, that's flattering. Thank you.
Oh, my goodness.
Well, I had something to work for me. One time I had an elder come to my door right after my wife passed away, and I started doing my research. I had a Jehovah's Witness elder come to my door wanting me to come back. And I told him, I said, I don't want to come back. And he goes...
he knew that your wife just died, and that's why he was there? Because that's what they do. Yeah. They know. They prey on you in a weak moment. Yeah.
Oh, they do.
Here's what I said to him. Here's what I said to him, and pass this along to others. It sounds so basic, but it worked. I asked him, I said, do you really and truly believe that only Jehovah's Witnesses are going to be saved? And he told me no. And I looked at him, I said, then why do I got to be a Jehovah's Witness? And he turned around, walked away, and I have never had one visit me since. And that's been years.
So common sense.
I think maybe
witnesses don't think of these things, sometimes.
But April, you're very right. He made sure to visit him during a vulnerable time. And I can remember sitting in the Kingdom Hall as one of Jehovah's Witnesses and being taught that. that go back to your return visits if you find out there's
maybe
been a
something
death
has happened.
in the family.
Something, yeah. Maybe there was an accident. Maybe they had a death in the family. Yeah.
Right. I think maybe if you leave a couple of cloves of garlic on your door, that might keep them away too.
I wish they would come to my door. I would love for them to come to my door because I'm in a new town. They have no idea who I am. I would completely act like I have no idea what they're about. I would invite them in, and I would just simply be very friendly and get them like, oh, wow, she's really interested. But I would also, those little seed questions once in a while. You know what I mean? And I would keep them come back for more as long as they'd come back. That's what I would do.
Are the Jehovah's Witnesses like the Mormons, where when they come to your house, they can do certain things like they'll mow your lawn or they'll clean your house?
No.
They're too lazy.
Okay.
I told that. Like if you were calling on an elderly person, offered to shovel their walks, I'm in Wisconsin.
Right.
You kind of smooge up to them,
Yeah.
And really think about it.
Sense
You really have to be told to be kind. It's so stupid. They treat us like third graders, Be nice.
Yeah, like they'll like the lady that studied with me, the older lady that studied with me. I was a very sincere student of hers, and we had very long studies and talks and things, and so she knew that I was sincere. I think she lent me like $75 or something like that, and she says, I don't want you to pay it back. So I do remember one thing, like I really appreciated that at the time, but but she's the same lady that when I asked her these sincere questions that I had, called me an apostate and told me never to speak to her, call her again. So.
Well, you got $75 out of it.
Yeah, I sure did.
But that's what's so sad is there are some sincerely kind people that, they're maybe giving you that money because they're really following that inner just kindness. I want to help you. They're not doing it for reasons. They're still human beings. But then there's that covering of mind control that, the elder said I'm not supposed to talk to you. Or, I'm supposed to identify certain things you say as apostate, therefore I shut down. That's what's so sad. You still see these little glimmering, these little shimmers of humanness in them because they are still human and they still can be kind, but there's just so much other garbage going on.
Yeah, it's so sad because I think people get into it because they want to genuinely help people. I mean, that's the reward they get isn't monetarily, obviously. It's this high, this spiritual high that you get, that you feel that you're really helping people. They're saving them their eternal futures. You're like giving them real hope, and it's like it is a high. You feel like you are in the best position to help any human being, and it's a very intoxicating feeling.
Now, ladies, I wanted to ask.
Going with that. Sorry.
I wanted to ask one thing. In the Bible, it says that women are supposed to be silent in the church, and if they have a question, they need to give their husband a question in private at home. Now,
When was
in the
that?
Jehovah's Witnesses, it's in the Bible.
Where in the Bible? Atheist man.
It's Timothy.
I have to look it up.
It's in 1 Timothy chapter 2.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Very good. Was it like that in the Jehovah's Witnesses? Were the women silent? Or could they speak their mind?
Oh, no.
Nobody can speak your mind, but especially not women.
Well, not speak your mind as in speak your mind. I mean by talking. If they had a question, they couldn't ask a question to the
They cannot handle a strong woman. Believe me, they do not know what to do with a strong woman.
Yeah,
There's certain role expectations, what a woman can do, what a sister in the congregation can do, as opposed to a brother. So certain privileges is what it's called. And so naturally,
They can't conduct meetings.
Yeah,
there's no
a woman
teaching
can go door to
involved.
door.
You can't
knock on
pray.
some man's door.
You have to cover your head
Also, one more
with a
towel on your
cloth if there's a male witness in the room, even if he's 7 years old.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yep.
Yeah, there's no teaching.
Wow,
There's no. If you have a question, you're directed to ask your husband if he's an elder, or you don't voice your opinions at all
Right.
whatsoever.
Okay.
No. Yeah.
And
That-
even whether
that's-
you're
that
brother or
sounds-
sister, you do not challenge their authority. But I think it's even more, frowned upon when a woman does it. But somehow, I think they'll take the time maybe to answer a brother's question a little more than a woman, because how dare you? There's a lot of male feminism there.
The reason why I was asking that is because the people, the women here on this call that said that the Bible, it kind of turns you off a little bit. Okay, well, the Bible says women have to be silent. That kind of makes women second-class citizens, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, that's where it helps to understand the context, why I knew where it was in the Bible, and, certain things that, and you've probably heard this before, was that in the Old Testament or the New Testament, and then what was going on. The Bible's written in the 1st century, and plus the church was very new, very young, and they were dealing with still coming out of the law under Moses. So, in that whole context of where that's written in 1 Timothy, there's a lot you can point out as to why that was going on, because number one, verse 12, I do not allow a woman to teach or exercise authority over man, but to remain quiet. That's the verse you're taking out. But right before it, where is it, about the prophecy? Because it's in the context there, it says when a woman prophesies. It's like, well, wait a minute, she's allowed to prophesy. Obviously, she's speaking in the congregation. And plus, if you're going to take that whole thing and say, well, all of this applies throughout all the generations, so we have to apply it now. And so that's what a fundamental church would do. They say, well, we have to apply this. All these women have to be silent. Well, then you're also going to have to apply the stuff that it talks about men there. Like in verse 5, it says wait, I'm in the wrong place. I just flipped the page. That's what happened. But it talks about men lifting their holy hands. Yeah, verse 8. Therefore, I wanted the men in every place to pray, lifting up holy hands without wrath and dissension. Well, now are you going to come down on a man in a church like, oh, I noticed you didn't pray with your hands held high, and you know what I mean? But you're going to take all of
they
this
cherry pick.
Yeah,
they cherry pick. They pick and choose.
Yeah,
so
and I'm big on those time elements.
Abstain from blood, but it also says abstain from shellfish and not combining two different materials in the same cloth. So
yeah, and
the thing is, in the New Testament, Jesus says he didn't come to abolish the law; he came to fulfill it. So, in other words, those 613 laws are still active today. So, we should have Christians out there stoning homosexuals.
Yeah, and shame on them for doing that, because Jesus fulfilled the law. If we're still under the law, then we better not touch a menstruating woman, we better not eat shellfish, all that stuff. That was only for the children of Israel, and only temporary. It ended. Jesus fulfilled it. It's done. So we can look back and go,
that ended too? Yeah. Are you saying, I don't really know. So that's, you're saying when he came, that law was fulfilled as well. Because
the reason it was in place was to train their minds. Everything is to be a tutor to Christ. Well, Jesus became the blood sacrifice. So I think it's good that the children of Israel, their minds were trained to treat blood very carefully. Don't eat it, and here's every time you sin, you got to sacrifice this animal, all that stuff. Blood, their minds were wholly being trained to recognize that the life is in the blood, the life is in the blood, the life is in the blood. That's throughout the Old Testament, and then you see in the New Testament all this stuff about Jesus' blood. It's his blood, the life of God, the life of the eternal, all that stuff is now, for us. So I just find it very interesting when you read through the whole Bible and see this Old Covenant, New Covenant, and, the Old Covenant, I guess you could say, complements the New Covenant. You understand it better, but none of us are under it. We're not under the Old Covenant. So all that, so Jason brought out a good point.
They want to use. They don't care if it applies or it doesn't apply.
Right.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yep.
You did bring up a good point I want to talk to you about, all of you, is the blood transfusions. Have your eyes been open to that particular part of the Jehovah's Witnesses creed?
I think
I'm going to
that
tell
was
you
the
my
first
little
thing my eyes were open to.
Mhm.
Well, even though I didn't realize it.
Well,
I gave
I had a
blood for
bad
the first
experience.
time.
What's that?
I said I gave
Go
blood
ahead.
for the first time.
All right.
Congratulations! Woohoo!
Congratulations.
Rite of passage.
I had a bad experience happen to me last year in April. My brother had diabetes. He had went to the hospital because he had to get a leg amputated.
Oh.
Well, he was a Jehovah's Witness, and his wife divorced him. He did not divorce his wife because his wife knew that he had diabetes and didn't want to be stuck with the bill in the future. Now, his wife wasn't a Jehovah's Witness. My brother was baptized. So he was disfellowship because his wife divorced him. Okay? She didn't cheat on him or anything. She divorced him. Now, that's not his fault, but he got disfellowship because of this. Now, what happened was his diabetes progressed, and he had to go into surgery to have his leg amputated. And what happened was, because he wanted to get back into the good graces of the Jehovah's Witnesses, he refused blood. He ended up getting his leg amputated. Now, my brother was 62. I'm 40 years younger than him. No, just kidding. Anyways, he had his leg amputated. And what happened was, he called me on a Monday and said, "Hey, Dan, what you doing? I had my leg amputated." And I said, "Hey, that's a great way of bringing it out. Why did you tell me this was happening?" And he goes, "Yeah, just so you know, I refused a blood transfusion." I said, "Well, that's up to you. But you know what my opinion is of that. I hope nothing happens to you." Well, Thursday night, I get a phone call from the police saying my brother passed away. What happened is he slid off of his hospital bed reaching for something, and he hit the leg that was amputated, the stump, and he bled out right there.
Oh my word.
That
Get out of here.
I thought to myself, how could he has been so stupid? I was talking to him for years, saying you don't have to go back. You can feel good about yourself. And that was my situation with blood transfusion.
So much blood on their hands. So much blood on their hands.
They sure do.
That's
sickening.
Satan's organization. Satan's organization has blood on their hands, and that's what they want.
Yep. Joyce, is this a good spot? Would you like to talk about what's been going on in your world there about that blood on your hands?
Oh, you guys got time for that?
Sure.
I don't know.
Unless you're sick of talking about it.
We get paid by the hour, so go ahead.
Well, I'm the Joyce that was friends of the family that was that murder-suicide in Keego Harbor, Michigan.
Oh, I heard about that.
Get out of here.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait, what? The Stewart? You knew Laura? And
Lauren Stewart was my friend.
Oh, my goodness.
You're that Joyce.
Sorry to hear that.
Yes. Yes, I watched you on the news.
Yeah.
So you're famous, Joyce, or what?
Taylor. Is that your name? Taylor?
Yeah,
Oh, I don't know.
Taylor,
That's right. No last name. Okay, but that's what I remembered. Okay.
That's me.
Okay, wow.
We'll edit that out.
Nice to meet you.
Pardon?
Yeah. Let's hear your story.
Well, you want to hear about the...
Yeah, we'll shut up now. We'll listen to you.
All right. Well, I'm sure you've read everything there was about it. I learned about it on a Friday night and, early Saturday morning.
Joyce, start from the beginning. Start like as if nobody's heard it. I want to know.
Okay.
Yeah. Like before, what was she like too? Like maybe some of that.
Okay. Lauren was a nice girl. I mean, a really nice young woman. She was 42. She did have some things in her past. Her father sexually molested her multiple times from the ages of 6 to the time she was 14. her mother passed away of cancer when she was only 12.
Was she
And
raised
so she
in the
really,
church?
yes, she was. Her dad was an elder.
Okay. Oh, okay.
And so, I think, and Danny, her husband was also, he was also raised Jehovah's Witness. Both of them were. And I saw her, and they were both nice people, very nice people, nice family, okay. And I saw Lauren just the week before she came over. We had lunch, and we were just talking. But I noticed there was something a little off about her that I really wasn't able to deal with it at that time. She was talking about the Holy Spirit talking to her, and she still believed the Jehovah's Witnesses and the way they believed things. She was out physically, but she was still in there mentally.
Yeah.
And she held on to those kinds of beliefs. I didn't realize just how strong they were until a week later. But she was talking about the Holy Spirit that Friday, and I told her at one time, I said, Lauren, I said, I don't mind bashing the Jehovah's Witnesses, and that kind of stuff, but I don't really feel comfortable talking like this. And I said,
So was she trying to preach to you about it?
Yeah, she was kind of preachy. I should listen to her because she has the Holy Spirit, that kind of thing. And at one point I asked her if she was hearing voices, and she denied that. And
that's weird because I heard that the whole family. This is what I just heard. I watched a few videos on it. I don't know how accurate these were, but I heard that the whole family had been disfellowshipped, or
no,
5 years ago. No, there was just her
and her husband, her and Danny.
Her and her husband. And it was over education, higher education reasons for their family,
well,
kids?
That was a big thing. That was a very big thing to them, education. Was it the only thing? No.
The kids. Mm-hmm.
It's mostly, social things. But education was a big thing for them. And,
so were they still
Danny,
trying to get back into the witnesses at this time?
No,
or
they weren't trying. No, they just still held on to certain beliefs. And one of the beliefs that Lauren held on to was that if you died on this side of Armageddon, you'll be resurrected. And I didn't realize how deep that belief went until I saw the suicide note.
Oh, okay. So it
How did
wasn't
you
so
see the
much because
suicide
I
note?
get a lot.
How did you see the suicide note?
How did I?
Yeah. Was this a family member?
The police showed you, didn't they?
Yeah, I went to the.
They asked for your help in discerning it?
Right. I was talking with the detective, and they called me in for an interview.
Wow.
So
I've got a lot of information where the shunning is being blamed for her actions, which I guess isn't all that accurate. Then it wasn't so much the shunning. If they had been disfellowshipped for 5 years and weren't trying to get back into the organization, then it wasn't so much the shunning that drove her. Huh?
What are you saying? I don't quite understand.
No, I just heard that the reason for her actions was the shunning by of the congregation just pushed her to these lengths or whatever. So from what I'm hearing, that's not so much the case. If they were out for 5 years.
The shunning behavior is a big part of it, a huge part of it.
Okay.
It doesn't matter what it was. If you take away any of the reasons that could have been the last straw, okay, whatever it might, maybe the dog peed on the carpet. Okay, I'm just throwing that out there. When you have something going on in your life that's traumatic, and you haven't developed your social system, or it's been taken away, and you don't know how to go about getting that, it makes whatever you're going through 100 times worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. Now, going on that right there, anybody who's listening or who will be listening to this show, if you have those feelings, you have those same feelings. Julie, please tell your website again and how they can contact you.
Sure. On For Jehovah, that's the number 4 Jehovah.org or forwitness.org. There's plenty of information. We also highlight some of the Facebook groups that are out there to just, discuss on Facebook some of your issues. If you want to contact me, I'm listed under the ministry team, but so are others. So you can, choose from several different testimonies, and if you feel kind of a connection, it's really good to just have someone to confide in. And yeah.
That's why I'm just so tickled to be speaking with you ladies and be, talking
Well, thanks a lot. I thought my voice was low enough to I wasn't a lady.
No, I mean you too, but all the callers are ladies. That's what I mean.
Right.
Yeah, and that is comforting. You're right, and that's a good point about the ones that are listed under that ministry team. Because if you're a guy, you're probably going to want to talk to a guy, and if you're a lady, you probably want to talk to a lady.
Absolutely.
And then you get on these Facebook groups. Wow, you meet so many people.
Yeah. When I was first leaving the witnesses it was 31 years ago, and I had read Crisis of Conscience, and I kept saying, "Oh, I got to find this guy. I got to find this very friend. Who is he?" I must have called every friend's number in Georgia. Okay, I knew he lived in Georgia, and finally, lo and behold, bingo! I got a hold of him, and he talked to me for about 15, 20 minutes, and
wow.
he said, and he told me, he said, you need to be with others who understand what you're going through. Mm-hmm. And he gave me a phone number of an ex-elder that was not so far from my area. And my husband and I got in touch with him. And there was a small group of us that seemed to just develop. There was probably about maybe 20 of us, 15, 20. And we met for about once a month, every 3 weeks or so, for the longest time. And then eventually, we all went on our own separate ways. But I'll never forget how important, and I really want to say this, important it is that you develop some social circles as fast as you can.
Exactly.
I gotta get on social media. I just have to break down and do it. That's just
Well, if you can get on social media, just go to facebook.com/2 guys and a mic. We're there.
Okay.
You can friend our page.
Yeah. But there's a great point to be said about this is it's one thing to be in the religion, you don't know you're getting brainwashed, but you are being brainwashed that the world, the people of the world, the worldly, if you're on that side, you're not going to make it in life. You're not going to have Jehovah's blessing. But once you leave, then you have that depression because you felt like you let Jehovah down. You're as good as dead. But people have to realize there's a golden rainbow out there on the other side of this religion. They are brainwashing you, and you have to contact somebody. Right now, I think our greatest value is Julie for Jehovah would be a good one for any people who are Jehovah's Witnesses now who are listening that are going to leave the religion because they've done their own research, or those who have that don't know where to turn. To get rid of your depression, go to julieforjehovah.org.
No, that's not a site.
Listening.
That's not a site. It's just www.forjehovah.org. It's not Julie
you mean
Jehovah.
Julie's website?
Julie's web. Okay, there you go.
April or anyone else that wants to email me, that is Julie4Witness, number 4, Julie4Witness yahoo.com. So, that's just out there if you want to contact me. But, yeah, I can be found at www.forjehovah.org. So, and you see that at the top of their banner. It's got a spot for testimonies. You pull that down, and there's several names, but you'll see mine up there, Julie McAllen. And so I'm just one of many. There are thousands of people out there in discussion on Facebook, on groups off of Facebook. We used to run Meetup, but there's other, I would say Facebook is your number one place. So you're going to find all kinds. You just type in ex-witness and boom, you'll see a bunch of different groups. And then once you're in one group, you get recommended for another group. And there's all different kinds of groups. There's groups for atheist ex-JWs. There's groups for Christian ex-JWs. There's mixed groups for like, okay, we're all just a bunch of ex-JWs. Where are you? So, I'm sorry, what was that?
We just don't want our listeners to feel that, just this show is as far as it goes, as far as helping the ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. We want them to see that there are support groups and different
army out there. It is
yes.
Joyce and I are in that group.
Every day.
See, that would be a good name for a website right there.
Well, another thing you ladies should know about is if you heard of Leah Remini. She does a show on Scientology and how they're pretty much doing the same thing the Jehovah's Witnesses are doing.
Yes, I started researching Scientology. Yes, it's very interesting.
Well, let me just let you know that it was announced not too long ago that Leah Remini is thinking about doing a show on Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. Is that a definite, or is that just?
She's just thinking about it. She's not. It's not definite right now. But I'm going to tell you, Jason and I were on our third season of Two Guys and a Mic. We've done a lot of different subjects: politics, religion, even Bigfoot. But this has been, this has been
on that too.
This has been the hot topic. We constantly come back to the Jehovah's Witnesses. There's a lot of Jehovah's Witnesses out there and ex-Jehovah's Witnesses that want to talk. And it's just been amazing.
I think because Scientology is just getting so much attention, and how many members are there? Really compared to witnesses, it's really.
And they're all in California.
I hear the highest estimation is 50,000, and that's like high number with 50,000 people compared to 8 million. So with
Scientology is you have to already have a significant amount of money because it's a constant, go to this seminar, bing, buy this book, bing. Where Jehovah's Witnesses, you can be poor and join.
Right,
So I think Jehovah's Witnesses affects more of your standard people. That's why you have so many celebrities that are associated with Scientology. Because I remember when I read a book on it, I thought, my goodness, I couldn't be a Scientologist if I wanted to. I just don't have that kind of money.
Well, let me tell you this, ladies. According to Scientology, tell me if you believe this. It says 75 million years ago, there was a planet that was populated by humans, much like the 1950s America.
I pray to Xenu. What are you talking about?
It was right. It was ruled by a galactic overlord named Xenu. Now, before Xenu could be overthrown, he froze everybody and stored them in boxes and sent them to a prison planet named Tigakak, which is now called Earth. Okay, the boxes were dropped into volcanoes, and then Xenu hit them with hydrogen bombs. Now, tell me what person in the right mind is going to believe this and say, you know what, I think this is a religion for me?
Well, L. Ron Hubbard started out as a science fiction writer. And so where did his religion come from? I mean, that
sounds like a Twilight Zone.
Good story. But
I'm afraid Tom Cruise is going to see Star Wars and start worshiping C-3PO or something.
It's just ridiculous.
They actually made an agreement with Tom. It's not supposed to be, because he's like the face of Scientology. So David Miscavige, who is the face, he's the owner, the guy, David Miscavige, the one who took over from when Hubbard died or whatever. He he doesn't want to lose Tom as a face of Scientology. But that's why Katie Holmes and Tom Cruise broke up, because Katie was protecting Suri from this cult. And in that religion, they also have the shunning. So Tom was not permitted to speak or associate with his daughter. So the tabloids started to notice, like, hey, we haven't seen Tom and Suri in a couple of years together. What's going on? So then rumors started that he abandoned his daughter. His last 3 movies tanked. Blah blah blah. So now he was very staunchly supportive of Scientology, and I think he still is. But he's making like this deal to where they won't malign his name. You can see your daughter, but they're making an exception because of how influential and rich he is. But typically,
celebrity status, yes.
Right.
There's a lot of celebrities that are Jehovah's Witnesses or raised Jehovah's Witnesses, and those some celebrities that are trying to become Jehovah's Witnesses. Jason, you've got a list. You were going to talk.
No, I had. It was a list of people who are Scientologists. We have Greta Van Susteren, Edgar Winter, Priscilla Presley. Most of them are celebrities.
Juliette Lewis. Yeah.
Right. Isaac Hayes, John Travolta, Kirstie Alley.
And you know about John Travolta's death of his son, right? Caused by, it's the whole blood doctrine all over again. Jet, his son, he had, what do you call it? Oh, come on, we have seizures sometimes.
Epilepsy?
Epilepsy?
I don't know if it's,
I don't know.
Whatever he had was viewed as a weakness in Scientology, to where you just have to do more auditing. You have to he was viewed, not only did he have a mental problem or physical problem, sorry, that's my cockatoo talking, he was looked down upon by his own father. So, like, the pictures that they showed of him in tabloids, they had shaved down the fat under his neck. They had, done these things. So imagine Jet seeing these pictures of himself being fixed up and his own father viewing him as weak, and being ill and being, refused the medication and attention that he needs. And so he died because they do not allow psychological meds. So he was denied anti-seizure medication, and he smashed his head in the bathtub on New Year's Eve. I forget what year it was. But that's why he died, because of these cult-like rules, denying medical attention.
Well, when you think about this, these different cults that are out there, Scientology, Jehovah's Witnesses, they're cults. Satan is working amongst
Mormons, yes.
Yeah, Satan is working amongst those religions, as they call themselves. So the more lives that Satan can take, I can see what's going on. Jason, you got now you got the celebrities, Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah, you got Prince, Michael Jackson, Serena Williams. The list goes on. I believe Selena. You ladies heard of Selena?
Yeah,
Yeah, translator.
Venus and Selena.
Yes, the singer.
It still bothers me that Prince died believing in that nonsense.
I know.
Oh, no kidding.
No.
In fact, my wife and I went to the tour of Paisley Park, and one of the rooms in the tour was his office, and there's a bunch of Jehovah's Witness books laying around. I'm like, ugh. Michelle Rodriguez, the notorious B.I.G., was a Jehovah's Witness.
Get out.
This gentleman who's trying to become a Jehovah's Witness is Terence Howard. He's in the movie
Hustle and Flow.
No, he's on a
guy with
show
the light
now.
eyes.
He's from Empire.
That show Empire. Is somebody trying to get in?
Terence Howard.
Oh yeah, we got another caller.
Oh, we got another caller.
Yeah.
Yay!
Oh, let's see.
Hello.
See who is it?
Hello.
It's the last one.
This is from New Jersey again.
We got two from
Are you
New
there?
Jersey.
First name, please. Hello.
You can use a fake name if you need to.
Got a
Is
very
that
bad
Yoda?
connection.
Bad connection.
Yeah, seems like a very bad connection.
Okay. We can't hear you, sir, or ma'am. So we're going to continue with our.
Hang up and try again. Anyway, we were talking about Terence Howard.
Yeah, Terence Howard is from Empire. He wants to become a Jehovah's Witness.
Wow.
I think I saw an interview with him saying that. I think I saw an interview with him. Let me look up his face so I know it's the right person.
Okay.
But if it's a person I'm thinking of, he was interviewed about wanting to become a Jehovah's Witness, and he was saying that he believes it and that he's not ready. He's working towards it. Yeah, it is. Yep, that's him. Yep.
Yeah,
Did you know Tom Brokaw?
He's working towards it. He knows it's the truth, and he still has to make some changes and things. But yeah.
Wow.
How about
So he lives in guilt
Tom?
and fear every day. So.
Yep. Tom Brokaw is a Jehovah's Witness.
No.
I'm writing
Yep,
it down.
Tom Brokaw is a Jehovah's Witness.
Oh, yes. Come on.
Get out of here. I gotta
Yeah.
look this stuff up later.
Did you ever watch the show American Pickers?
Yeah.
Anyone ever watch the show?
I have.
Danielle was raised a Jehovah's Witness. The girl on there.
Well, so was Sherry from
I gotta
The
look
View.
that up too. Yeah, Sherry. Yeah, she talked about being in Bible study, at the people's homes with Michael and Janet. I'm surprised she's not more strong. I mean, I guess her position, she can't really, be too voice her opinions if she has any negative ones towards the witnesses too strongly because of her position, I guess. But.
Right.
But I'm going to ask you one last question, ladies. For some reason we can't get that other caller through.
Seems like he's
Sleeping. Somebody's sleeping.
It sounds like he's sleeping. I muted it, so I don't know who that is, but it sounds like he's snoring. Are we that boring?
Yeah, I guess so. Get your guitar out and sing a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, one question I'm going to ask. Now we got Sharon, Joyce, Julie, and April still on the line. I'm going to ask each one of you one at a time to answer this question for me. If you had somebody right now listening to this show, a current Jehovah's Witness, what can you say right now to convince them they need to get out? I want Sharon, you to answer that for me.
Well, that would be toward my adult son, who is a Jehovah's Witness, who hasn't spoken to me in a year. He's due to have his first child this month, and he called me up screaming at me, saying that I was toxic, he hated me, he doesn't want anything to do with me, he doesn't, I'll never see this baby. And so my heart aches for him because I know all the lies he's been fed. And so what would I say to him?
What would you say?
I would
or even
tell him
even a Jehovah's Witness listening right now.
To be a free thinker, to do your own research, go beyond the Watchtower, because when you do your research through the Watchtower, you're only reading what they want you to believe. Doesn't mean it's the truth. That's
exactly. Joyce?
Yes.
Same question to you. If there was a Jehovah's Witness coming on YouTube and you're looking for a show about Jehovah's Witnesses, they come on to this show listening, what could you say, Joyce, to that man or woman to convince them to leave the organization?
I don't think there's anything I can say in a sentence or two that would do that, but
Okay, why don't you describe how your life is since?
How my life has been since?
Since leaving the Jehovah's Witnesses.
It's been a wonderful ride, let me tell you. And I think of all those years I sat, in the Kingdom Hall 3 days a week, that's a lot of time being wasted.
5 hours a week, yeah.
Yes, it is. And you think about what you can do at that time. Just think.
Exactly.
That's minimal,
Julie?
really, with what, sorry.
Julie?
Well,
What could you say?
Okay, well, first of all, the Jehovah's Witnesses listening is already on the fence, because otherwise they wouldn't be listening. But they might be, and of course we have an easier time talking to somebody who is in the place that we recognize we were in. And so I would say to that person that while you were out knocking on doors, you probably used Matthew 24:14 quite a bit, or at least understood why you were doing it, and you felt that you were preaching the good news of the kingdom. That was to be the testimony before the end would come. And, I agree that, I know I was very sincere in that. I'm going to speak to you, Jehovah's Witness, that you were probably doing a sincere work. You really felt you were doing this for God. It was the good news of the kingdom. In other words, it was good news. It was gospel. And what I like to come down to and question then is in the first chapter of Galatians, the Apostle Paul wrote a letter to first century Christians and said they had already heard the good news. They had already heard the gospel, but now they were paying attention to a different gospel. So I had to ask myself, and I ask you, Jehovah's Witness, how do you know what is the original gospel and what is the different, distorted, perverted gospel? Because one of us has got whatever this gospel is in the Bible. We're recognizing we're different, because a Jehovah's Witness is very proud that they say they have the true gospel and everybody else is wrong. Well, then I would challenge you, look into the Bible, and I would love to have that discussion with you. Which one of us is following the perverted gospel and which one of us is following the original gospel that the first century Christians received?
Amen. Amen to that, Julie. April?
For me, I was going to say my dad, because I always admired his unbelievable patience and kindness. I always strive to be like him and put myself in other people's shoes and be patient and to wait before sometimes lately it's hard to do that because I just want to bust out and talk about things. But I was going to say him, but I think he's too far gone, sadly. So I would say my brother. My brother, he's 4 years younger than me. He's 31. And he's not yet baptized. And I hadn't spoken to him just because our family was never a family, even though we were all like going to meetings and raised and whatever. We were really strangers. But we haven't spoken in maybe 8 years. And I called on him because I had to go back to Jersey to get some dental work done. I hurt my back really bad, re-injured it, and I couldn't even drive back. So he drove me back just recently. So I got to speak to him just very briefly. I didn't want to push too hard. I just wanted to see where he was at. And I just asked him if he was planning on getting baptized. And he told me that he is. And, he said it very meanly, and you can't really blame him from what they feed you with the hall and everything. He's like, I'm doing this favor for you, April, but I don't want to hear it. Do you understand me? He said, real stern. I was like, Aaron, it's not like I've ever given you some kind of lecture in opposed to Joe's Witness. I've never even, I was just asking a question. That's all. He's like, yeah, but the tone you asked. I was like, I'm sorry. It was just a question. And I would just beg, I am so grateful that I was not, influenced to get baptized. So grateful I wasn't. And I just really hope that he doesn't, that he does some research before he makes that step, because you can't go back.
Very good point.
He gets baptized next year, whatever, and then he wakes up then, you know, all his childhood friends that he's still friends with, that he's roommates with, my parents, everyone, aunts, uncles, all, you know, gone. And for what? So I just really would love it if he would do some research.
Mm-hmm.
Excellent point. That's what we would like
say
all
look
of
up
the listeners.
Scientology, because it's very, like, it's not confrontational. It's somebody else. It might convince a Jehovah's Witness to see this.
I don't know. Xenu was looking pretty good.
That's a good point about looking at other cults, though, because when I was 100% dedicated Jehovah's Witness, and then I began to question. Of course, I could not look at a memoir by an ex-witness. It just scared me. You know, that's a apostate. But the first book that I read, and I was nervous even reading this, but I found it in the library and nervously checked it out because of the title. It said "Crazy for God," and I thought, oh God, that's how I feel. I feel like this God, Jehovah that I'm working with, it's making me crazy. And what it was the memoir of an ex-Mooney. And I justified it. I thought, well, you know, I'm still going out in service. Just in case I ever, you know, bump into a Mooney, I should know a little bit about their beliefs, you know, so I can witness to them. You know, I had to justify it. And that was a good thing, because it's like, even though the doctrine was completely different, so, you know, at the same time I'm reading it going like, oh, well, that's because they don't know, you know, the truth that I know. But I saw, like, oh my gosh, the indoctrination just seems so similar, you know, and the fear that was in the paranoia that was, you know, Satan was everywhere and, you know, isolating you from everybody else and only the group.
Yeah.
I felt the similarity, and I went on from there and I read memoirs of ex-Mormons, ex-Moonies, ex-Amish, you know, everything but the ex-witnesses, and I saw the similarities. I saw religious indoctrination and how it worked, and that strengthened me. So I say to, like, if somebody writes to me and they say they have this relative and there's no way that they won't listen to them, you know, they won't read apostate material. I said, well, then you got to take another route. Say, you know, you were talking to a Mormon today, or what do you think of that? And, you know, kind of bring in this other religion and see if they'll kind of relate to some of the things. It's a completely different religion, but they'll find the similarities. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, ladies, we're going to...
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
I'm sorry. Ladies, we're going to be wrapping this up. First, we want to thank Sharon from Maryland, Joyce from Michigan, Julie from Wisconsin, and April from New Jersey.
That's right. Julie, we're in Wisconsin, too.
PA,
so.
but yeah.
Well, we're Green Bay
New
Packer
Jersey number,
fans.
but I'm PA.
Green Bay Packer fans, you can't say that as a Jehovah's Witness.
But if you could subscribe to our channel and go to our Facebook.
I'm already
it's not two guys and a mic.
Subscribed and belled.
Right. Okay. If you got next week, we're going to be talking. We're going to do another show. We're trying to do it every Sunday at 3. Okay. And the next one's going to be about, are women equal to men? Because I know we've had a lot of. I've seen a lot of stuff on feminism and everything, and I don't know. It seems like a topic that people.
I just want to get into discuss.
To ask my husband if I can do that.
Like I said, every Sunday at 3:00. So and we'll set reminders and everything.
I want to do a shout out to Mango Bango. He was trying to get on the show today.
That was me.
I think we should...
That was me. That's me.
Oh, you're.
Oh, that's
yeah,
you.
That's me. I didn't know how to do it, so I just went to the channel and I thought, I don't know. I'm new to this stuff, so. But then I got your message on there, and then I called in.
Right. Well, save that number because it's permanent. So.
Okay.
And I think we should sometime in the near future probably do another show on Jehovah's Witnesses. Sure. You ladies are all welcome back, and bring friends. And
we can have up to 10 people on the call. So
yeah. And Sharon, if we do another show, Sharon, you got to bring dessert. And
okay, no
Julie,
problem.
you got to make sandwiches.
What do you think of that, Sharon? Me making sandwiches. She likes my husband's cooking.
No, can I ask you guys real quick?
Yep.
You guys are Dan, and what's the other guy's name?
Jason. I'm Jason.
And I'm Dan.
Jason. Okay. Okay. And Jason, you're an atheist. Is that
correct?
Right. Okay.
Correct.
Okay. Sorry.
If you want to see
Okay.
what I look like, just go to Jameis Unplugged. Just look it up. It's the only one on Google.
Jameis?
I play guitar, acoustic guitar on the weekends.
Oh, cool.
Yeah,
How do you spell Jameis?
Jamus. Jameis Unplugged, all one word. I'm the only one on Google.
Okay.
and he won't be having an atheist church service because what do you do? Just sit there and say nothing, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Hey, because
Well,
I'm not a
I'll-
Christian, I could use my Sundays for something else.
Okay.
For playing guitar.
There you go.
I was raised by a Jehovah's. No, I'm not really. This is a joke. I was raised by a Jehovah's Witness mother, and my father was an atheist, and I found myself knocking on doors for no apparent reason.
No apparent reason. Yeah. Well, I think we're going to wrap this up, ladies.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so
You're
much
welcome.
for doing this, guys.
Thank you.
It's very
All right,
therapeutic.
thank-
Keep on the lookout. Like I said, if you want to be on the show next week about a women equal to men, just like I said, Sunday at 3, just call in. We're going to be on.
I'll set my alarm again like
All
I
right.
did this time.
Okay.
All right.
Yes, we'll set up. Okay,
Bye,
ladies, have a
Bye.
good evening. Bye.
Bye.
Well, that was an interesting show. Very, very good. Very good.
Very wonderful. Very wonderful. Yes. So, I'm Jason,
And I'm Dan.
and this is
Two guys and a mic.
You Take Care of Yourselves, all you Homo sapiens out there. And we will see you Sunday at 3 o'clock when we're going to be doing Are Women Equal to Men? And I would really like some feminists to come on this show because I want to hear their point of view.
Exactly.
And we're going to set reminders and everything on YouTube. So thank you for listening, and we will see you next time.